President Moon's visit reaffirmed alliance between the two countries and marked the start of a personal friendship with President Trump. Jung-hee gives us a wrap-up of what the two leaders discussed and what needs to be worked out.
President Moon's first official visit to the U.S. is seen by many as more successful and productive than expected, not only reaffirming the South Korea-U.S. alliance, but reinforcing bilateral trust as well. President Moon was able to build trust and a personal rapport with President Trump, which will relieve some uncertainties after a months-long standstill on issues facing Seoul and Washington. At the top of the agenda was the threat from North Korea. The two leaders agreed to make the North their #1 priority and to use both pressure and dialogue to denuclearize the regime. That means sanctions will only be used for the peaceful denuclearization and reunification of the Korean Peninsula, and that Seoul and Washington will be open to dialogue with Pyongyang. The U.S. also promised to provide extended deterrence over the Korean Peninsula and, when certain conditions are met, to transfer wartime operational control of South Korean forces to Seoul as soon as possible. But a few things still need to be discussed, one of them being trade. Meeting with Korean reporters based in Washington on Saturday, President Moon stressed that a renegotiation of the two countries' free trade agreement is not part of the agreement he and President Trump reached during their talks. The two sides did express differences on the FTA. The U.S. brought up deficits, especially in steel and automobiles, while Korea claimed the FTA works to benefit both sides. President Moon said the meeting was concluded with South Korea proposing a new working-level task force to examine the effects of the FTA and stressed that anything not on the two leaders' joint statement is not part of any agreement.
There was nothing agreed at the summit talks about renegotiating the FTA.
Regarding the deployment of the U.S. missile defense system THAAD on the Korean Peninsula, President Moon clarified his stance that he respects the decision made between the two countries, but emphasized that observing the due process of law will help further develop their alliance. Jung-hee, Arirang News.